Is looking after your children this morning, especially as we approach Halloween. The DA continues to warn parents of the deadly consequences of fentanyl pills.
Particularly about the rainbow variety that look like candy. Last year, a record number of fentanyl poisonings were recorded in the U.S. The DEA says those rainbow-colored pills could make things even worse.
Yeah, the pill started showing up on the West Coast in February, making its way across the country.
This is every parent's worst nightmare, especially in the month of October as Halloween fast approaches.
And remember, just a tiny speck of fentanyl is enough to kill. Hawaii and Los Angeles are considering putting Narcan in every public school to combat what is being called a nationwide drug crisis.
This is an extremely worrisome issue, especially as parents prepare to send their children out to go door to door trick-or-treating. Dr. Salim Sarani joins us live to discuss what to consider and look out for. Dr. Sarani, good morning, and thank you so much for being with us today. So as a parent, it definitely worries me, especially the fentanyl that look like candy. How can parents and kids tell them apart? What's the difference?
Good morning, Barbie. Glad to be here. I think you're raising a very, very important topic, which is very concerning, because not even it is easily available. It is getting flooded in the market. It is coming in the way where you can entice somebody very easily. And even if somebody has a bad intention, you go out in Halloween, you get a candy. The first thing the kid do is put it in their mouth. So one of the key thing is that what is happening, it's kind of coming to an epidemic proportion. Even if you look at a worldwide death, more than 70% of the overdose deaths are because of the opiate. In 2018, we had a 21,000 deaths. Now we take it in 2021, it is close to 110,000 deaths, which is we know of reported. So it's a very, very concerning. Why it is so? Because the fentanyl is one of the very, very potent opiate. We have talked about heroin. We have talked about morphine in the past. It is 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. So even in a very, very small amount, it can be having a catastrophic effect. And a lot of the time, people don't know it. People who have had some back issues or some joint issue, and they take it for a couple of days. Or nowadays, it's being sold in the street. Or sometimes you take some other drugs, and it is laced with fentanyl because it's very cheap. And people don't realize it's so potent, because if you take a very, very small amount, you can have a very big challenge. So first of all, the public need to be aware of what are the symptoms, what are we can do about it, and that is how we can protect our community.
How can we protect our children? How do we talk to them about fentanyl?
One of the things is you have to be open with the kid. We talk to kids about a lot of the issues, what are good and what are bad. So you have to, as a parents, make a clear-cut difference that, well, these things are out in the market. And again, you don't need to take the things from the strangers. You need to be very cautious. And if you're a teenager or adolescent, it's getting very, very easily accessible, sometimes even in the schools. So you have to be very cautious. So you have to have an open dialogue with the kid. They need to understand what it is, and they need to understand that how potent it is. And in a small amount, they can create a challenge. How they can recognize someone who has a very small pupil, they're confused, their breathing can be shallow, and that's where the naloxone or the Narcan comes in very handy, because if you're taking opiate or in an area where the opiate is there, we should have the access to that. That can prevent death, and it can save lives.
And the important thing, Dr. Sarani, is make sure you talk to your kids, especially with Halloween approaching. Thank you so much, and you'll continue to be with us throughout the newscast with John Thomas later on this morning. If you have a question for Dr. Sarani, please text it to the number on your screen. That is 361-855-6397.